When Michael first laid eyes on her, she stood toward the rear of the employment agency, gripping a weathered handbag as though it contained everything she owned. Loose strands escaped from her hair, which was tied back carelessly, falling across her weary face, while her shoes appeared to have traveled countless brutal miles. To the average observer, she seemed invisible, just another impoverished young woman hoping for an opportunity to scrub floors and clean dishes in exchange for modest wages. Yet there was something in her gaze that made Michael pause. Her eyes weren't simply exhausted, they harbored tempests within them. She had submitted an application for the most underpaid position available at his estate. Housekeeping duties, a job most women shunned unless dire circumstances forced their hand. Desperation radiated from her every gesture, though beneath her delicate exterior, Michael detected a subdued resilience, the variety forged only through hardship. Before proceeding further, if you value compassion, redemption, and the strength of the human spirit, please like this video, subscribe to Untold Stories 0.4, and pass this along to others. A single click from you could inspire someone's day. Michael possessed great wealth, though happiness eluded him. His expansive estate sat at New York's outskirts, overflowing with glass, marble, and an oppressive quiet. He had constructed his fortune through tireless effort, yet the journey had stolen his capacity for laughter and replaced it with the reverberations of isolation. Upon hiring her, Emily, he anticipated no fundamental change to his existence. In his view, she represented merely another staff member, one more figure drifting soundlessly through the corners of his cavernous, vacant residence. Emily labored like someone left with no option except to continue existing, even when existence itself brought pain. Each morning she appeared wearing the same faded garments, her complexion ashen with fatigue. Still, she voiced no grievances. She scrubbed, she prepared meals, she repaired what was broken, and when evening came, she vanished like vapor into darkness. Michael observed that she consumed very little, as though preserving every cent for purposes more important than satisfying her own appetite. He had witnessed poverty previously, but Emily bore it uniquely. It transcended mere financial lack. It was life's accumulated wounds pressing down upon her. Weeks elapsed and she merged into the stillness pervading his household, until one particular evening when an incident occurred that altered everything. Michael was entertaining a modest group, colleagues from business, refined women draped in costly gowns, gentlemen dressed in tailored suits. His estate sparkled with crystal chandeliers, though underneath the brilliance lay his customary void. Then, while the celebration continued, he glimpsed her once more, though not attired in her housemaid's clothing. Emily moved through the corridor dressed in red. The garment wasn't lavish or high-priced. It was understated, possibly previously owned, yet it draped across her figure as if fate had designed it specifically for her. The exhausted young woman he had employed seemed to evaporate in that instant. Her hair, typically restrained, cascaded in undulating waves that framed her features. The tempest dwelling in her eyes remained present, but now it resembled flames, vibrant and unwavering. The discussion surrounding Michael became indistinct as his entire focus contracted to her alone. The attendees took notice as well. Murmurs spread like expanding circles on water. A few mocked discreetly, "The housemaid is pretending to be something she's not." Yet others gazed in shocked wordlessness. The red garment didn't merely transform her outward appearance. It exposed the reality she had been concealing. Emily wasn't someone to overlook. She was remarkable. However, Michael's spirit shattered when he understood her reasons for wearing it. Subsequently, he learned it stemmed not from pride or defiance. The red garment had belonged to her deceased mother. It represented the sole respectable article of clothing Emily possessed, the singular item she reserved for occasions demanding bravery. That evening, she required such courage, because Emily wasn't simply maintaining households. She was battling for her existence, attempting to summon the fortitude to safeguard her younger sibling, who awaited her in a refuge facility downtown. Her narrative reached him in pieces. He uncovered that her father had deserted the family years earlier. Her mother had succumbed to sickness, leaving Emily as the sole barrier standing between her young brother and an unforgiving world. She toiled through endless shifts, occasionally in several households, frequently foregoing meals simply to ensure he remained fed. The red garment wasn't just material. It embodied a remembrance of her mother's affection and served as evidence that even amid ruin, self-respect could endure. Michael, for the first occasion in many years, experienced his heart awakening. Observing Emily distribute food to visitors while wearing that garment, as people passed judgment on her, he recognized a mirror image of his own condition. He too had erected barriers to shield himself from suffering, though hers had been constructed to shield another person. That evening, once the visitors had departed, he located her in the kitchen cleaning dishes in solitude. The red garment showed dampness from splashed water, her hands crimson and chafed. Nevertheless, she hummed quietly to herself, as though melody represented her sole refuge from anguish. In that precise moment, Michael understood he could no longer remain quiet. The period following the gathering transformed everything. Michael started observing her with greater attention, not as household help, but as a fellow human shouldering an impossible burden with unshakable poise. He discovered methods to ease her struggles. He increased her wages without her requesting it, tucked provisions into her belongings for her brother's benefit, and discreetly settled her outstanding debts at the refuge. Yet he executed these acts quietly, never wishing her to perceive charity, only respect. Emily, nevertheless, harbored remorse. She feared the red garment had drawn excessive attention to her, that observers viewed her as a trespasser in a realm where she had no place. Still, Michael conveyed through subtle actions that she wasn't merely hired help. She was someone deserving of recognition. As weeks transformed into months, the estate gradually shifted. It ceased being merely buffed marble. It radiated warmth instead. Michael, who previously consumed evening meals in isolation, now discovered himself sharing food with Emily and her young brother, Daniel. Laughter started resonating where silence had previously dominated. Emily instructed Daniel in his studies. Michael assisted with his educational expenses, and the three of them constructed something approximating a family unit. However, the outside world showed no mercy. One particular evening, Emily failed to arrive home at her usual hour. Hours drifted past and anxiety etched grooves into Michael's expression. When she ultimately staggered into the estate, her clothing ripped, her eyes puffy from weeping, Michael experienced rage unlike anything before. She had been trapped on her journey home by men who ridiculed her for having the audacity to wear that red garment once more. They had taunted, degraded, and attempted to crush her will. Yet Emily refused to yield to them. She fled, she resisted, and she reached home safely. Positioned in his entryway, she shook, not from terror, but from the exhaustion of perpetually maintaining strength. That evening, for the first occasion, Michael witnessed her weep without restraint, and he grasped that her power didn't lie in never collapsing, but in collapsing yet still deciding to stand once more. He vowed to her then, wordlessly within his heart, that she would never confront the world unaccompanied again. Gradually, Emily's circumstances underwent transformation. Michael assisted her brother in gaining admission to a quality educational institution. He urged Emily to resume her education, something she had relinquished long before. She wavered, frightened of allowing herself hope. Yet Michael emphasized to her that aspirations weren't indulgences. They represented requirements for continuing forward. With his encouragement, Emily started perceiving herself not as domestic help, but as a woman possessing a future ahead. The red garment, previously an emblem of anguish and mere survival, evolved into something different. It became an emblem of metamorphosis. Emily wore it once more, not because her wardrobe lacked alternatives, but because it reminded her of the occasion when everything started shifting. The estate that previously reverberated with vacancy now radiated with vitality. And Michael, who once suffocated in isolation, found happiness not through material wealth, but through generosity, through guardianship, through caring deeply. Years afterward, when individuals discussed Emily, they didn't recall her as domestic staff. They recalled her as a woman who ascended from absolute nothing, who catalyzed change in all those surrounding her, and who demonstrated that even the most modest gestures of compassion could reverse a person's trajectory. And Michael, he never dismissed from memory the evening the red garment changed everything, not due to her physical beauty in it, but because it unveiled the bravery of a woman who declined to allow life to conquer her. If this narrative moved you emotionally, please like, share, and subscribe to Untold Stories. Your engagement sustains these authentic stories and spreads hope to others requiring it most desperately. And before departing, I wish to request one particular favor from you. Leave a comment below describing your own red dress moment, that instance which provided you courage when circumstances appeared hopeless.